Yes, sir, we're officially back at it. This is Boog Nice coming at you with the Marvel Legends ToysRus exclusive Marvel Cinematic Universe Vision and Scarlet Witch 2-pack review. Let's do it.
This ain't for no scalper. You a scalper? Then fuck out shit. This one's for them real collectors. That's army building and posing figures. Marvel Legends, imports, mini matey, I'm fucking with them. Hype beast, we know about you. Stay buying figs, don't know about it.
And taking a look at the artwork on the left side of the box, you can see a picture of MCU Scarlet Witch. And on the opposite side, there is a picture of MCU Vision. Alright, taking a look at Vision and Scarlet Witch out of the package. And this is a pretty solid offering here from Marvel Legends. This is a decent 2-pack, I must say. If you know me, you know I'm not a huge fan of movie figures from Marvel Legends, but I figured I'd pick this up and review it. I know Vision is one that a lot of Marvel Legends collectors have been anticipating for quite some time. And Scarlet Witch was one that kind of evaded a lot of collectors, being as though she was only one per case in that Abomination Build-A-Figure wave. So a little bit of a deco change here on Scarlet Witch, or maybe it's mostly just the head from what I can see initially. But yeah, let's take a closer look at the two of them. So taking a look at Vision and his accessories first. Out of the package, he comes with two open hands with the fingers slightly spread. And I guess I'll read the bio real quick too. It says, both empowered by the Mind Stone, Vision and Scarlet Witch are powerful forces in the throes of battle. So yeah, again, fitting that these two came together in a 2-pack. Finally, we will be able to complete our Team Iron Man and Marvel Legends in 6-inch form. I'm a little jelly actually because I wanted to get a Vision for SH Figuarts and complete my Team Iron Man with SHF. Because again, I'm not really into the movie figures for Marvel Legends. I guess a picture of my almost complete Team Iron Man will pop up. But yeah, two open hands, and then to my surprise, they also packed in a set of fisted hands. So, you know, I've been complaining quite a bit with some of these 2-packs as far as the lack of accessories in these 2-packs. I always feel like if you're going to get a box set of some sort, there should be some additional parts and accessories and heads and different things in the box. And oftentimes Marvel Legends kind of skimps out on that stuff. But here we did get an extra set of hands for Vision, so that was great. You could kind of have him with the open hands when he's kind of, when you have him simulating his power or something like that. Or with the fists when you want him to punch something or be a little more relaxed. So that was cool. And aside from that, that was it for Vision. Now, I guess you could probably count his cape as an accessory. I feel like they made it where it was supposed to be intended to come loose here, but it does not. For whatever reason, the peg is glued into his back there. And I don't want to force it out, but I suppose with some hot water heating him up, you probably could get the cape off, because you can pop up the head and you can pull this over his neck. But I don't like that they glued that in. If they were going to glue the cape into the peg hole on his back, they should have glued down this front portion of his cape as well, because this is like my major gripe with this figure. It's a pain in the ass that this is just sticking up. It looks so stupid. It's an eyesore. So when you get yours, you're probably going to have to take a little dab of super glue or crazy glue and just stick that down to the front of his chest. But looking at his deco, I do feel like they did a really nice job here capturing his movie likeness. I do like the texture in here on the costume. I do think it's pretty accurate to the movie. I like what they did here with the cape, with these extra colors down in the fold of the cape. And they actually went the distance here. I do like this a lot. I think the head sculpt looks pretty good. I don't know if it looks exactly like the actor, whatever his name is. Tell me his name in the comments below. I forget. But I do like this costume, and I do feel like they did a good job and served us some justice here, finally giving us MCU Vision. So, and just a real close look at the head sculpt. So that looks pretty damn good. Like I said, I don't really have too many complaints. I think the paintwork here is good. I got to look through a bunch of them at the store, and for the most part, the paintwork on all of the Visions look pretty decent. It was Scarlet Witch around her bosom area. That might have been a little funny style on some of the other ones, but I think I picked up a couple that were very good. And in terms of articulation, pretty standard articulation for one of Marvel Legends' male characters. You pretty much get everything that you would expect. Head is on a ball joint, gonna look down just about that far. It'll look up pretty far as well, which is important and very good, being that he is a flyer. You definitely want someone who can fly to be able to simulate them flying and being able to look forward when you have them in a flying pose. So no real issue moving left to right or up and down. You get just a tad bit of pivot. You can do a full 360. No issues with the head. Shoulders are on a ball joint. They're going to come up pretty far. You'll actually get them to do a full 360. You'll get an upper bicep swivel, a double jointed elbow, a swivel and a hinge on the wrist. You get waist articulation. You get a nice deep ab crunch going forward. And you get a nice deep ab crunch going back. It's hindered just a little bit by the cloak. The cape is harder plastic, but it's still pretty soft and pliable. I guess you could kind of manipulate it with some heat or hot water and cold water. At the pelvis, you got a T-joint. The legs are going to come up just that far. You get a nice split. You get an upper thigh swivel. You do get a double jointed elbow. Kind of wish there was rotation at the upper boot, but there isn't. You do get a hinge though, and a nice deep pivot on the foot. So great range of motion for Vision. And I do like this sort of slender body mold that they picked. I'm not sure if this is something that they've used before or if it's kit bashed or what, but I do like this sort of slender muscular build that they picked for this buck. It is fitting for the character. And taking a look at Scarlet Witch, who I think came out really nice. This is pretty much the same figure that we received previously. I think I mentioned that previously in this review. Looks like the head sculpt has just been painted a little differently. There may be some slight deco changes. I think I still do have the original Scarlet Witch, so I will break her out for some comparisons. But I do think this is a great figure, and this is another opportunity for anyone who missed her originally to pick up the figure. So as far as accessories, she does come with a couple. So I'll show that real quick. So there's her little flame effect she comes with, and I don't know if there's any right or wrong way to position these on her hands. You could kind of switch between the two of them, or you know, use one at a time. It's up to you. And I suppose you could probably use these effects with other figures, other magic users, Doctor Strange and stuff like that. I definitely will utilize these with other figures as well. But this was a nice touch to add these in, but that was it. No additional hands, no additional head. And these are very soft to the touch, pliable. Like I said, you can kind of switch between the two hands and, you know, position these how you want and have her, you know, utilize them how you want. So decent amount of playability with these. And taking a closer look at her deco. Very clean paint work on this particular version. I can see a few little minor paint imperfections on her hands here. You know, when you get to the intricate details of the hands, but for the most part, it's not really much bleeding. I feel like on the original version that I had, there was more bleeding on the hands than on this one. But again, I did look through quite a few packs, and I think I picked a good one. And like I mentioned before, I saw like maybe some paint bleeding or some black around this area around her bosom on some of the other packs that I saw, but this actual face looks very clean. It looks very lifelike. I guess it looks pretty close to the actress as well. I think the hair probably could have used a little more dry brushing or something like that, but I like the way it flows. I like the way everything looks. Yeah, and taking a look at her articulation, pretty standard articulation for one of Marvel Legends' female characters. So, you know, there's going to be some lack of articulation. But head is on a ball joint. It's a very small ball peg. You can see that if she didn't have this long flowing hair, you probably would be able to retain all the articulation, but because of the hair, you're not going to get the greatest range. She will look left to right. She will look down a little bit, but as far as looking up, it's just not going to happen. You will get a little bit of pivot, but that's pretty much it. So a little bit of hindrance here on the head. Shoulders are on a ball joint. They're going to come up just about that far. They will do a full 360. There is no cut at the bicep. You get a single jointed elbow that will rotate on that joint. You do get a swivel and a hinge on the wrist. On this left hand, the wrist will hinge left and right. And on the right hand, it will go up and down. So I guess you could kind of get some different motions when she's when you have her simulating her magical powers, but that's how those wrists work. And then you do get some upper torso rotation, so you can turn her left and right. You can move back and forward just a little bit. No ab crunch, no waist swivel, T-joint at the pelvis. Legs are going to come up just about that far. You do get a decent split. You get an upper thigh swivel, double jointed knee, no cut at the upper boot. You get a hinge and a pivot on the foot, and that's pretty much it. So while she does look great, there is a little lack of articulation, but she does look very good. And wow, look at that. I didn't realize how much different the two of them were as far as the look. It looks like the new one is a totally new head sculpt. I think this head sculpt might be new because it looks like they're utilizing a new face scanning technology on this new one from the 2-pack. It looks like the head is just a tad bit larger as well. And I didn't even realize, but the original one from the Abomination Build-A-Figure wave here on the left doesn't really look like the actress. The likeness is definitely better on this newer one, and you can see she looks a lot more tan in the original version. But I do feel like the actress is very fair skinned. So again, I do feel like this is the better of the two, the newer one. So not bad. If you missed out on the Abomination Build-A-Figure one, then this is probably the one to get from this 2-pack as far as the likeness. And can you swap heads? Sure. But why would you want to? I don't know, because it's going to look really weird. Looks like she didn't know how to do her makeup properly when you swap the heads. But yeah, it is possible. So maybe the heads are still the same size. I don't know. I still want to say that this newer one is still a little bit larger. It looks that way to me, at least. And a few quick size comparisons. So you can see him next to some of his teammates from the Civil War movie. On the right, we have Black Panther. And on the left, we have Iron Man. I believe this was the proper armor from the Civil War movie. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like I said, I haven't really held on to too many of these movie figures. I do not have the War Machine from whatever 2-pack he came with. I ended up selling or trading Spider-Man. I guess I do have a Black Widow. Let me see. Well, there's a Black Widow. It's not the correct one, but this is the only one I have. So yeah, I do feel like they kind of all over the place with the scaling here, though. I don't know. Maybe Vision could have been just a little bit taller, but possibly you might be able to fudge it and actually use this Vision with the SH Figuarts. So maybe I'll break out a couple of those and see how he looks alongside of those guys. But all MCU characters here. And there's a regular 616 universe or Marvel Prime or whatever the hell they call in the main universe now. Vision on the far left. And you can see he is just a tad bit taller than this MCU Vision. And we have Doctor Strange on the far right. Another MCU character. And I think I'm done with size comparisons for Legends. Let's see how he looks next to some of the Figuarts figures. Vision, that is. And hey man, that's not bad. The scaling here with the Marvel Legends MCU Vision in comparison with the SH Figuarts MCU figures is not bad at all. You can definitely finesse this in some shots. And the way the texturing looks on Vision's costume is very similar to the texturing on Black Panther here and Spider-Man. So you can definitely finesse this. I'm not mad at this, but I do feel like we will possibly, I think there's a very high probability that we will see an MCU Vision offered from SH Figuarts. Just last week, Bandai showed a bunch of the figures that they're going to be dropping from the Infinity War movie through SH Figuarts. So mostly repaints, but we will get a Thanos. We're going to get a new Hulkbuster. It looks like we're going to get a Bucky or a Winter Soldier or whatever they're going to be labeling him as, White Wolf, the White Wolf or whatever it's going to be. And I do think that we may get a Vision through SH Figuarts too. You know, I've been putting all of my chips in with the SH Figuarts stuff, like I've mentioned quite a few times in this review. You know, I just haven't really been that invested in the movie figures from Marvel Legends. But this is a great one. This Vision is definitely one that I would recommend. It is a good figure, this 2-pack in general. So let me get the two of them standing together and get out of here. So for what it is, a pretty good set here. I'm still going to go out on a limb and say that they could have added a few more accessories in the pack. A couple of different hands for Scarlet Witch and maybe one interchangeable head for Vision, maybe like his powered down sort of human form. And then we could have just popped that head on any one of the suited bodies that we have. I think that would have worked out pretty nicely. But for your opportunity to finally complete another team through Marvel Legends, the Team Iron Man, it's great. And for collectors to get another shot at Scarlet Witch here, and a much better version of Scarlet Witch on top of that, I would highly recommend that you try to find this set. I was able to pick up this set today at ToysRus and Times Square. Quite a few people have put up posts on Facebook and Instagram and different places saying that ToysRus had them in abundance, and they did. And when I got down there, it was probably about 20, 30, maybe 40 sets left, and then maybe like 10 to 15 minutes after I left, they sold out. So I'm not sure if they're going to restock or when they're going to restock, but I believe the regular retail price was $39.99, but they were also having a sale at ToysRus, so it was like buy one get one 40% off or something like that. So get out there, get on the hunt, and shout out to homeboy that I saw down in ToysRus. Man, I forgot your name, I'm sorry, but if you see this video, comment. Somebody recognized me down at ToysRus, and we chopped it up for a brief minute. He had actually mentioned my man Dave BX, so he knows Dave too. I'm drawing a blank on your name right now, bro, but definitely if you see this, throw me a comment. And yeah, man, thanks for hanging out. As always, rate, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, peace.